Hello there everyone, we're in the watch room at the British Horological Institute. There are watches everywhere, there are cabinets full of them, but today we're going to show you a watch that belonged to someone very important, very famous, Scott of the Antarctic. Now for people who've never heard of Scott of the Antarctic, do such people exist? Alan, who was Scott of the Antarctic?
He was Captain Scott, he was a naval captain. He had a great interest in exploration, particularly of the Antarctic polar regions, and his ambition was to get to the South Pole first.
He did not get to the South Pole first, and for all the great things he did, and he did some great things, perhaps the most famous thing he did was die. He had a very tragic death, him and his colleagues on Antarctica.
He died in the tent. He was only 11 miles from his base camp, but he was frostbitten along with his colleagues, and he knew he couldn't walk anymore. He actually spent his last hours writing all those letters to his family, to families of his companions, and then effectively lay down to die. That's all he could do.
So as we are at the British Horological Institute, you might be wondering, what object do we have associated with the death of Captain Scott? Well,
is right here. We have one of the watches that he used. As I understand it, it was given to us by Scott's family in the late 1940s. And this is a relatively inexpensive alarm watch. The photograph over here does actually show you the watch in situ, hanging up behind him. This is a photograph called Captain Scott in his den. And they use this rather posed photograph of him writing in his journal.
So we see Scott here, and the watch itself,
the watch itself there, yes,
is there. Those of you with a keen eye may have noticed that Alan, who was formerly the curator here, has tried to recreate Captain Scott's den here, and he has the watch in the same place that it is in the photograph. And this is so fragile. Even the bootlace is the original bootlace, and the safety pin is the original safety pin. We can't even touch this one and take it off the nail. You know, on Objectivity, we like to look at things and handle them with the gloves, but we're so worried about even things like the bootlace that we're gonna leave it there on its nail. Was this watch with him like in the tent when he died, or was it in his den? Or?
Well, it almost certainly was, because the bootlace and safety pin suggests it took him with him. It had to be attached to his clothing. Being an alarm watch, you may wonder why he wanted that. Well, the real answer is that, of course, you cannot sleep in a tent on the ice cap for longer than a few hours, 2 hours perhaps. You must wake up and have something hot to drink, something hot to eat, walk about, get up. Otherwise you will begin to freeze, and this is what ultimately, of course, did happen to him.
So this has an alarm. Where is the alarm? And would it have made a sound?
It would sound literally on the case. It rattles against the case and you can hear it, yes.
Is that loud? Like
it's quite
ding,
loud, yes.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yes, it is.
Wake up, have a cup of tea.
Yeah. I was surprised when I saw it, because it's not an explorer's watch. It's not a watch by which you could navigate. It won't tell particularly accurate time. But of course he did have other watches, and there's one again in the photograph on the central bar there. You can see it, and that really is an explorer's watch. Looking at the style of it, it was probably made by Herbert Blockley. He made most of those. They're known as the RGS pattern, Royal Geographical Society pattern. Right. And they're waterproof and they're highly accurate. It
looks pretty sort of rusty and not in amazing condition. As a watch restorer, how do you feel about this?
Well, because of its historic value, we're not going to do anything to it. It's quite stable. It's not going to deteriorate really any further in a hurry. It's got its alarm hand there, pointing just after 2 o'clock, but the 2-hour minute hand and the second hand are missing. So it's obviously been in the water bit. It does have little dots around the dial, which were for luminous paint, so you could set the clock in the dark.
There we go. Captain Scott's watch. If only that watch could talk, eh?
Yeah, exactly, yes.
Support for this episode of Objectivity came from 23andMe, a personalised genetics service that will help you learn what the 23 pairs of chromosomes that make up your DNA can teach you about your ancestry, traits, and health. You can help with scientific research and discoveries and learn more of your own personal DNA story by visiting 23andme.com/objectivity. There's a link in the description, check them out. And our thanks to you for watching this episode.